Morning, we got a guest. Guest we had before, Mr. Dynast Amir. He's one of the
Sir.
good brothers that's out here in the black world, the African diaspora, and everything in between. So we give you guys, like I said, a few minutes to join in, and then we'll get to hollering at Mr. Dynast about a few things.
Yes, sir. How's everybody doing in the chat room? And Phil, thank you for having me again.
Oh man, had
I
to bring you
appreciate it.
back, man. You the resident Africa expert.
I appreciate it. I try to be. I try.
Yeah, how many countries have you been in the continent?
I think 12,
12.
11, 12, something like that.
Oh, you
Yeah.
got you
I
got
had I had actually I'll be in Nigeria um in August, so I'm looking forward to that.
Nigeria. Is it your first time going or
Yeah, first time in Nigeria,
oh your first time? Okay. All right. Well, how do you deal with them long flights? I'm trying to psych myself
yeah.
up for this Ethiopia
Listen,
trip.
all you have to do, watch a couple movies,
Mm-hmm.
take a nap, and then next you know you'll hear we are beginning our descent. We will be touching down in Accra in 35 minutes. So it's it goes by fast.
So it's normally what 18 hours?
No. Well, it depends where you're flying to. I fly out of New York or DC
Mm-hmm.
and to get to the west coast of Africa, whether it's Senegal, Togo, Benin, whatnot. It's usually 11-hour flight, 10 to 11 hours on
10 to
to the
11
west
hours.
coast. Yeah, but
Okay.
starting, I want to say this winter, they're going to be having direct flights from Kenya, Nairobi to New York, and
Mm.
that's probably going to be about a 16-hour situation, I would think.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because our flights, we're going to Ethiopia. I mean, but they're going to stop in Dublin and then they're going to go to Addis after that. So they say total about 18 hours.
Well, you could have flew direct to Addis from DC.
Yeah, I probably. Well, that's just the way we kind of it was kind of set up, like to fly to LAX. That's the way it was set up.
Okay, so you're going from Houston to LAX, then back to Ireland, then to
No,
Dublin. Then
no. The way the flight is to go from LAX, then Dublin, and then from Dublin it's gonna go back to Well, actually, I'm gonna get on a few flights to Addis, and then
Mhm.
from Addis I'm gonna go to Mekelle.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And then that's kind of how, it worked out. But hey, it was we excited to go. So um like I said, I was just not looking forward to that long flight. That's all thing. Because sometimes even I fly, let's say like to LA or New York, and even that's like maybe 3.5 hours. I'm all like, man, I already got off the plane already. I hate sitting in that long.
Yeah, yeah. I try to find whatever's direct.
Yeah,
So
I definitely hear that. So say, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's early. That's why I tell you guys, make sure you click the notification bell. Um, Now, the times you have been to the different African nations, how many times have you ran into the colonizers when you was out there?
I mean, they're definitely there, whether tourists or, as they say, expats. They're there, but you don't run into them often. But you'll see them here and there sprinkled, during your day. But you don't see that many of them, unless you're in South Africa. Now, South Africa, if you're in Cape Town, it's totally different. But for the most part, since I've been traveling to Africa, I mean, you'll see the tourists here and there, but that's about it.
Okay. All right, we got enough people in here. So officially, thank you everyone for joining us on the show. Our guest today is Mr. Dynast Amir. He has a YouTube channel called Search for Uhuru, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah,
And
search for Uhuru, everybody. Search for Uhuru. All one word. Search for Uhuru.
all right, and this brother travels the continent. He also bring a lot of people from the continent to talk different issues. And this brother talk about the issues here in America. He's well rounded. He's a fair brother. So we wanted just to chop it up with him today. We talked to him maybe about last year. So want to thank the brother for joining us on the show. And for those who don't know you, Dynast, could you let people know just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, Dynast Amir. I have a YouTube page called Search for Uhuru. Basically, the objective of the page was to connect the diaspora with Africa. Um, So I've been traveling to Africa back and forth since 2011. And when I first started posting my pictures and videos, people started to ask questions, whether it be from how do I travel to Africa to how do I do business in Africa. So basically, with my platform, I wanted to connect the diaspora with Africa, and also too wanted to involve people on the continent as much as possible. I think that's a part that's missing. I know a lot of people talk about Pan-Africanism and being Pan-African and connecting to Africa, but you rarely see, I would say, conversations between diasporans and Africans on the continent outside of why don't Africans like Black Americans or vice versa. So my platform, it's again, the objective is to connect the diaspora with Africa. Have conversations with Africans who are on the continent and Africans here in America or in the diaspora, so we could build. So
Yeah, and the thing is, you mentioned Pan Africanism. A lot of African Americans here talk about Pan Africanism, and if you go ask how many of them been to the continent, many of them will say they've never been. Why do you think a person that's a Pan Africanist never stepped foot on the continent? Why is that?
I think a lot of it has to do, and again, I'm not pocket watching, but I think the cost. Um, Please don't take this personal. The cost excuse is often brought up. But when you really break it down, and if you really observe how a lot of, I would say, this group is spending their money, they could have easily bought a ticket to go to a African country. I mean, you could travel, you could find tickets round trip to certain countries in Africa for sometimes less than $800. And then if you have $1,000 spending money, I mean, you'll be fine. If even you don't even need that. Like me, I just like to buy art and artifacts and sculpture. So I like to buy a lot of antiques as well when I'm over there. So, but if you just want to go and set foot on the ground, eat good, buy things here and there. I mean, for 2 weeks, you could get by with maybe $600. So if you could save up $2,000, I mean, you can go to an African country and have a great experience. And that's being very, you really don't even need $2,000. But again, if you just want to be comfortable and have a great experience, I think $2,000, including airfare, is very reasonable, in my honest opinion. So you have that, and then you have, I mean, a lot of people who I guess claim to be, I would say, educated about Africa are really misinformed. And I call it a lot of Black people were still using, I would say, 1980 stereotypes to justify not going to Africa in 2018. When I hear educated Black people saying, "Oh, what about Ebola? Is a lion going to attack me in the streets? Do I really need 20 shots to go? What about, is there tons of violence? Like in Congo, I mean, is that spilling over everywhere? Again, a lot of us are using excuses, stereotypes from the 1980s to justify and leverage not going to Africa in 2018. And what that really tells somebody like me is, like, you're not really trying to go anyway. So especially if you call yourself educated and informed, so I think that's a lot of it, just stereotypes, and then people just being seriously not wanting to go. Because I mean, it takes a lot to buy a ticket and stay on a plane for 11 hours to get to a destination. I don't think a lot of people who claim they are serious, they're really not that serious and dedicated to do that.
Yeah, because like I said, I just saw a figure, and some of us are actually traveling, because I read a figure that we're spending now $48 billion a year traveling back and forth to different destinations, definitely African nations. So much so that a lot of these African nations are now starting to look to partner with African American companies so they could make a push to try to get some of those travel funds.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense. I mean, we have a so-called $1 trillion spending power. So why not? I mean, we have the money. Why wouldn't African nations want to partner or reach out to Black Americans and encourage them to invest in Africa? I mean, it only makes sense. We have the money.
Right. And then, you also hear some, people on this side say, well, they never reached out to us, and they just forgot about us over here, and we were left to die and deal with these, white supremacists. When you go over there, like, what is the overall response? Because you went to many countries already. What's the response?
I mean, it's nothing but love. Shout out to Brian Cole. Yeah, so we did a video on this too, Brian. It's called we call it Negro stalling tactics on not going to Africa. But the response has been very. I mean, Africans are excited to see us when we go there. I mean, they've been very receiving. I mean, I've had little small issues here and there, but nothing worse than, who's the brother in Florida that got shot in his garage through his garage door? Mm-hmm. It's like we have all this going on to us here in America. We're always trying to boycott something. We're hitting the streets, hands up, don't shoot. Again, you had a Black man in his own garage, Phil, his own garage, closed garage door, gets shot and killed through his garage door. Families only awarded 4 cents. Well, first $4, then they lowered it to 4 cents. But then these same people who will, I guess, protest that and speak out against that will have every excuse to not get on a plane and go to Africa.
Yeah, and speaking about that brother you're talking about, Gregory Hill, they did a GoFundMe for this brother, and everybody came together. So far, they raised $59,395 now. Mm-hmm.
Shout out to holism in the chat room too.
Yeah, so that is the issue. Now we will fight for everything. When you have somebody who say, "Well, man, we built this country," which is truth, it's not a lie. We built this country. Well, why should we have to leave? Why we got to go over there? And it's like, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, because that is the truth. But with these people over here, they losing their last mind. We talking about the colonizer here. They losing their last mind. They killing up each other in their own schools. They got opioids all over the place. No matter what they do, they don't take accountability for it. And at the same time, now we can't even go to a restaurant without the police being called on us.
Right, exactly. You're dragged through the restaurant. You want to protest the restaurant, but then when it comes to just going to Africa, and then you have some people that go to the point, the establishments or places of business that they go to that discriminate against them, they want to prove a point, and I guess buy out the store to prove a point, instead of either A, taking that money and spending it at a Black business, or B, going to visit Africa. So I mean, that's what we're dealing with here. Right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I don't know. You go. You can go ahead and finish. I was gonna make a point.
Yeah, it's just, and we did a video on this. In regards to just having a contingency plan. Not putting all your eggs in one basket. And America has consistently showed us how, I mean, they don't care for us. Our so-called Black leaders aren't operating in our best interest. So my thing is, why not consider or just put together a contingency plan somewhere else? I mean, it's not going to hurt.
Yeah, now I was reading this one comment, Dynast, and I need to respond to it, because they're talking about Libya, and this one Faustulus Maximus said they were selling slaves in Libya. That's not safe. That's not a safer solution. Sorry, I disagree. They have slaves right here in America. It's called the prison industrial complex.
Right.
It's the same thing. And we're not telling you to go to Libya right now. It's not stable.
Yeah, no one said go to Libya.
Yeah, it's 54 nations over there.
What does Libya have to do with the other 53 countries? Like no one's saying go to Libya.
I
Yeah,
would I would advise no one to go to any
yeah,
country that's not safe. I mean, like I say, anybody, you got places right here in America you can't step into.
right. I mean, we did the video on. I know you did too on Zach TV. I mean, you have a situation here in America where you have what we call killer Sambos just running all over the place,
Mm-hmm.
but you're afraid to travel to Ghana. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and they're very accepting, and also, a lot of this stuff that's coming up with the NFL, and they say, oh, we need to start our own league. And it was, and I'm thinking about it. They say, okay, what if all these black men were to say, you know what, forget the NFL, we're not playing for them, we're gonna start our own league. They would create so much hassle to do that league. They were giving trouble, probably trying to get this league, trouble with getting maybe some permits they need from different cities, because these white supremacists are all on code to harm and stifle the progress of black people. What if those same black men would say, you know what, forget this. Let's go to an African nation. We'll start that football league over there.
I guarantee you, if some of these football players, black football players, or even we could deal with the NBA too.
Mm-hmm.
If LeBron James decided he wanted to go to Africa and start his own basketball league, the reception he would get.
Oh
He'll be a
yeah.
queen. But again, they don't see the vision, I guess. I mean, with black people, this is the issue, Phil. A lot of us don't want to put in the groundwork. If you look at the NBA back in the 30s and 40s or whatever, I mean, no one was really coming to the games. I mean, obviously the players weren't getting paid the salaries they're getting now, obviously, and no one really cared about sports, period, like they do now. But someone had an idea, someone built it, and look at it now. It's just we don't want to put in that work. That's the issue at the end of the day.
Well, it was, before, like say Major League, because black at one point in time, black people wasn't into football and basketball. They was mostly into baseball, and you had the Negro League, and the Negro League was making more money than Major League Baseball.
Exactly. Yeah.
And instead of black people saying, okay, well, these white people want to come in and they try and get our players, why don't we build a Negro League up? But it seems like for us, it's like it's just embedded in our minds that the white man's ice is colder, no matter what.
And that's what it is. The white man's ice is colder. It was beat into us. I mean that's what it is. And as far and I want to address the "we built this country" stalling tactic, as I called it. Phil, did you have a house built? Like, did someone build your home?
What do you mean by that? Of course, definitely someone built the home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does the person that or the contractor who built your home, do they have equity in your house now?
Do they have no? Not them. No.
Okay, so this idea that because as slaves we built this country that we have equity in it. I mean, we were slaves. So, the slave doesn't have equity in something that he builds because he was a slave.
Right.
That's how I look at it. But I understand, our ancestors built this country, but at the same time, I mean, it was free labor, and I mean, we don't have equity in it because we were forced to build it, and there was no intent for us to have equity in it.
No, and even when he read the laws, what they call 3/5 of a human being.
Right. And then even after that, these so-called free-thinking black Republicans, the one thing they don't talk about, they love to bring up, Abraham Lincoln and the party of Lincoln, and he freed the slaves. One thing they don't talk about is that Abraham Lincoln wanted to send the free slaves to the Caribbean and Africa. So he had no intent of black people. There was no intent for us to integrate into society at all. They didn't want us here because it was nothing more we were nothing more. I mean, freeing the slaves was a war strategy, and that's it.
And
So
people say about freeing the slaves, Dynast. Wait a minute, the slaves fought in that civil war for their own freedom. It's like they didn't cross their legs and hands and say, "Well, I hope them good white people win." No, they was fighting too.
yeah, they were because they were so. In fact, they were so the dream that they would be able to integrate into society, which wasn't the case. And again, it was a war strategy. I mean, that's all it was. It was it was a strategy of war. I mean, America has just about broken every treaty. I mean, if you want to go further back, they did the same thing happen in the American Revolution. So you had black slaves who were told by the British that if they fought for them, that they will be granted freedom, granted. One thing was their pension. So what happened after the war? The British neglected them when they lost. They ran. They went to Nova Scotia. Then from Nova Scotia, they went to Britain, and then from Britain, they were sent. A lot of them were sent to Sierra Leone. So again, there's just this history, okay, that what we have to understand. There was never any attempt on both sides, whether you call yourself a Democrat or a Republican, for the most part, for black people to integrate fully into society, and you see that till this day.
No, that's. I'm glad you brought up the Democrat and Republican thing. For me, it's just white supremacy, and I know, unfortunately, politically, black people have been tied to the hip of Democrats, liberals, etc. And they'll say, "Oh, we're your friend, and we believe in tolerance and this and that and the third." But after say that, they go to the same neighborhoods where Donald Trump is living, and they don't want black people around either. And unfortunately, Malcolm X had really laid out, about this white liberal, and slowly black people waking up to that. And I'm so glad. And we're talking about Republicans. What is your opinion on Donald Trump in relation to Black America?
I think I would rather have a Donald Trump in America as a president, because we're getting like that upfront racist white supremacy versus somebody like a Hillary Clinton, where a lot of black people would have been comfortable, and she would have still would have been screwing us. So I think with Donald Trump in office, a lot of us have gotten a wake up call, which is what we needed. But at the same time, I'm not saying go run over to the Republican Party like some of these free thinking, in quotation marks, black people are so-called doing, where they're, robots, and, white owned conservative groups put batteries in their backs and wind them up, and they just start regurgitating stuff that they hear off of Sean Hannity, is what we're seeing. So again, I think it was, I mean, Hillary Clinton sucked anyway. So I think with Donald Trump in office, I think a lot of black people got their wake up call. So that's what's going on.
Yeah, and I'm liking Donald Trump in office because I'm paying attention to everything he's doing, and he's literally destroying and unraveling the whole system. Literally. I mean, pay attention to the guy. I mean, he's causing problems with trade now. All the different allied countries are starting to get pissed off at Trump. He's attacking institutions. He's attacking literally everything down to that Constitution that was written when we wasn't around at all. They didn't think about black folks when they wrote that Constitution. When he was talking about the other day on Twitter that he has the legal right to pardon himself if he get convicted of anything. And I'm like, boy, I tell you, I'm just shaking my head. But Donald Trump.
I think what it shows too, Phil. Not sorry to cut you off. It shows what Barack Obama could have done, and all the excuses black people were giving Barack Obama for not helping black America. And then you see Donald Trump just being gangster with it. And it's like, well, hold on. Look at how Donald Trump, look at what he's doing. Why couldn't Barack Obama have been, I guess, this ruthless as Donald Trump? And black people were making excuses for him. Well, he's everybody's president. He's not just the president for black folks. He has his hands tied. But he's not. He could have at least attempted to. Then if he was shot down, that's a different story. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is, guns blazing. So again, I think another thing that it revealed too is that all the excuses that a lot of black people were giving Barack Obama was BS. Because look at what Donald Trump is doing.
Right. And to me, like I tell people, Donald Trump, that man is the embodiment of America. He is. He represents everything America is, if you think about it. Just look at his personality. Lie all the time, rude, bigoted, say he got money, but good and well you in a bunch of debt, like America. Say you got money, but you in trillions of dollars of debt. You think you better than everybody. Say you smarter than everybody, but you can't even articulate yourself. It sounds worse than a fourth grader. That's why I like listening to his speeches, because I literally laugh at it. It's so elementary.
True.
But my thing is about Donald Trump is, since he's unraveling everything, he's giving all these other groups a wake up call too, not just black people. All these other groups that are trying to tie themselves to white supremacy and going against us. And then Trump like, hell no, I'm old school white supremacy. I'm letting all y'all know you're not part of our group. Shoot, what you think, Dynast? You think Trump need another 4 years?
Who's gonna run against him?
I don't even know.
That's the thing. I mean, if they're talking Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, they won't stand a chance against Trump.
I wouldn't vote for them no way, because that's that Obama magical Negro stuff.
Exactly.
Look, if you give me somebody who has two parents that were descendants of slaves in America and really fight, then I'm cool with it. I'm not, because I'm learning this, Dynast. You was talking about this the other day, and like I said, I'm not trying to be offensive to nobody, because you can't help how you got here. And I'll say some, not all. I'm gonna repeat it again: some, not all. But some of those who have a white parent,
right,
they kind of play both sides sometimes.
They do. It isn't kind of, they do.
Well, I'm trying to, just trying to say, look, the thing is with Obama, his issue was he didn't want to offend white people.
Right. Exactly.
We had Joy Villa on here the other day. Same thing. She was doing the back and forth literally in the interview with me, and that's why I just let her talk. She was doing back and forth. Hey, I'm part of the black community, but then another part you want to I'm part of the white people too.
Yeah, that's why I'm against the one drop rule. To me is antiquated. Just me personally. That's just how I feel. A lot of people disagree with it, because everywhere else outside of America, there's no one drop rule. You're multiracial, you're mulatto, you're colored. Only here in America are you considered black if you have. One drop. Only here in America you're considered black if you have, I guess, one drop or whatever, of blackness, whatever one drop is. So that's why I'm firm on that position in regards to the products of mix of interracial relationships need to be considered mixed or multiracial or mulattoes or color, whatever you want to call them. But yeah, because that just leaves the door open to guys like Sean King, Rachel Dolezal, that leaves the door open to them claiming to be black when it's just like, I don't know. And then they use our resources that we fought for, that our ancestors, fought for, blood, sweat, and tears, and leverage that and exploit that for their own good, when they cannot prove that both of their parents are black.
Right. So, and like I said, we were seeing it with balance, not all, because I know Colin Kaepernick has a white parent. We get that. Okay. We just said some, not all. But for me, what I noticed, and I noticed the most confusion, and just living my life, is more confusing to that child when that child has a white parent versus, say, if that child had an Asian parent or Arab parent or a Native American parent or so, you know what I'm saying? I noticed it's more confusion with the white one. Why is that?
That's a good question. I guess because white people are dominant in society, I guess. So, and with that being said, they don't want to offend them. I mean, look at Drake, and I spoke on that. Drake has no problem attacking his black side. And I said this in my video, Drake would not wear a Holocaust couture t-shirt, but he'll wear a Jim Crow couture t-shirt or model for that line. Because again, it's the dominant society, so they don't want to offend them. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, he not gonna play with the Jews. He ain't about to do that. He I guess he part Jew. I don't know if he practiced Judaism and read the Talmud or whatever, but he ain't gonna mess with them. Not at all. He know better. Shoot, like you said, with this situation, Pusha T, Jay Prince had to step in
Exactly.
and handle that for him. Like, even though Jay Prince respected, nobody crosses Jay Prince. Trust me. I live here in Houston. If Jay calling you, just chill out.
All right.
He would look. You will think he got your number. He would get your number real quick, and he'd call you himself. Like, nobody messes with Jay Prince in Houston. It just is what it is. But you had a guest on your show, and I thought this was very interesting. I don't know where she was from. And I mentioned this, and it kind of caused a little back and forth even on my channel, and some of the sisters didn't like what I said. And I was telling the brothers, I say, listen, if you're having issues in the Me Too movement, and you're dealing with maybe certain ones here that has the feminism or whatever, and this is what I said. I say, well, maybe you can get your passport and get an African sister if that's what you want to do. I didn't say white. I didn't say any other group. I said African, right? And you had that sister, and y'all was kind of having that same conversation. And I noticed the same thing was flaming up in your comment section with this sister here. So do you feel that some of the sisters here feel kind of threatened by that language, or what's the deal with that?
I mean, if the shoe doesn't fit, don't worry about it. Only hit dogs holler. So why would you be offended? Because at the same time, I did another video encouraging Black American women to seek opportunities as far as men in Africa. And it was crazy. Black American men didn't get offended. Black American men weren't in my comment section upset and saying, damn, Dynast, that's wrong. Damn, Dynast, that's fucked up. Why would you do that? But when I encourage Black American men to get a passport, and, if you love sisters, you love Black women, there are Black women outside of America. For some reason, Black women got upset, But again, they have to look inside and see why they are upset, the ones who got upset. Because a couple of them were on Cynthia's show yesterday, trying to attack me over that. And I said, look, again, if you're offended by that, you need to look yourself in the mirror and see why you're triggered, what's triggering you. Because I'm not saying go chase white women. I'm not saying go get you a big booty Brazilian girl. I'm saying if you love sisters, go seek sisters, and you're having issues here in America, go seek sisters outside of America. And for some reason, some, not all, some, just some, were offended. But then when I told Black women, if they're not happy with the quality of Black men who are here in America, go seek Black men in Africa. Black American men weren't offended.
There's no reason to be offended because they're going with brothers. That's first and foremost. My cousin, my younger cousin, she's married to a Nigerian guy. Real cool. I mean, like straight from over there. I met his family. I love the Nigerian culture, and I'm very happy for her. For that, I don't see nothing wrong with sisters getting a African husband. I mean, shoot, if you can infuse that culture back into Black America, hey, more power to you. I'm celebrating it. I'm not against it at all. But you said they were following you to another show that you was on about that comment. So, I mean, what do you feel is the overall threat then? I mean, like, what are they so threatened by? Because they told me that, well, Phil, there's a lot of women here, and why should they be left out? And I'm like, wait a minute, but it's Black women. It's not, going to Becky.
Exactly. I just think, I don't know why they're threatened. I mean, maybe they're threatened that the good quality men will seek other Black women outside of America. I mean, that's the only reason I can see. But I mean, again, if it doesn't apply to you, then why worry about it?
Right.
Because I never generalized all Black American women. Never did that. So, and it was crazy. I'm on my platform defending Black American women a lot, but I guess they missed all those videos.
So in the area of marriage, and we talking about issue here in America, and we know marriage is very low in the black community. What do you think is causing that?
Me and you spoke about it offline. It's dealing with the child support system, dealing with alimony, losing half your stuff if it doesn't go right. It's dealing with the child court system. I think that's why. So a lot of men don't find the value in getting married when, I mean, you can lose half your stuff, like that. So I think primarily that's the reason why a lot of men aren't getting married here in America.
Yeah, I did my research, into the original child support laws back in the 1700s, and the reason why they came up with that is to protect white women first and foremost,
Right.
not black women. Black women was on the plantation, but it was to protect white women because white women, of course, at one point in time, they were just there. They couldn't work, they couldn't vote, they couldn't own property, they couldn't do nothing. So their husbands were everything. And if the husband say, I don't want her no more, then she was stuck out. She had nothing. So they created these poor laws back in that time period to make sure these women are taken care of, and the men had to, pay for the children, help still pay for her. And then it more from that over time with the original 13 colonies over here and into later on the different system. I have a whole spiel on how it started way back in the 1700s. But remember, none of this was to benefit black women. All of this was just basically a benefit of white women.
Right. No, and that's true. And then we just piggyback off it, just like MGTOW and feminism. I mean, it benefits white men, created by white men, created by white women, and then black men just hop on it. So yeah.
But at one point in time, I remember back in the 90s, man, you didn't have any of these issues or the 80s. Black people was all I saw was black people being together. You didn't see much people going with different races. Maybe every once in a while you may see here and there, but most of black people was together. They wasn't fighting, So what happened, Dynast, in your opinion, to cause all the back and forth of fighting? Even when I first came to YouTube, you had different personalities just going back and forth about black men and black women. I'm kind of glad that time period is over with. I'm glad, even though some people try to say it's not, but no, it's actually over with. I remember when it was bad. What caused all this, in your opinion?
Drama sells. So I think a lot of people, who are just in it for the money, who just want the hits, they'll feed into it instead of being creative. I mean, you have to understand, Phil. If I wanted to be a free-thinking black Republican and speak all the lingo, the Candace Owens and Anthony Bryan Logan and Brandon Tatum, Larry Elder lingo, I'll have 200,000 subscribers. If I wanted to, just sit on my platform and bash black women all day, same thing. I'll have, a ton of subscribers. So I think a lot of it has to do with number one, us needing a check, some of us. Number two is continuing because, Black America, we don't have any platforms or any system where we could punish people who, I guess, sell out. All right, there's nothing in place to punish them. And then two, Sunnyside 1984 brings up something. You had the drug epidemic and you had black flight. So as black people started leaving a lot of these communities and going to the suburbs, they had access to non-black men and women. So once they got that access, then there you go. So I think that a lot of that plays a role in why we have all this back and forth, because it sells,
Right, and you mentioned earlier about an ability to punish, and you kept mentioning the free-thinking Republican. Now,
right.
Anytime there's a black male, and this is just what I noticed, you have your Jesse Lee Petersons, and shout out to Jesse Lee. I'll be going on his show here shortly, a few weeks. You have your Larry Elders, you have all these different black men. Even you mentioned Anthony Bryan Logan, right?
Right.
I don't agree with a whole lot of what they say. Just a very minimal on some things I do that just basic, things to agree with. They are attacked, they call coon, they call whatever else. But then you have Candace Owens just the other day in the White House with Trump, took a picture with him smiling, Candace Owens is not called anything. She is like flying underneath the radar. Nobody says anything about Candace Owens. She says the most egregious things about black folks on Fox News. Man, they talk more about Tommy Lauren than they'll talk about Candace Owens. So why is it Candace Owens is allowed to fly underneath the radar, but black men doing the exact same thing or not?
That's a good question. I don't know, because Omarosa didn't fly under the radar. So what do you think the difference is between Omarosa and Candace Owens? Because Omarosa was called everything.
Sure she was.
That's a good question. I mean, but is she flying under the radar? Because I see a lot of people going after Candace Owens as well. Not as much as maybe a Larry Elder or Jesse Lee Peterson, but people are going after Candace Owens. I mean, a lot of people are going after Candace Owens as well. But at the same time, I mean, Omarosa, who was, I guess, somewhat in the same spot, definitely wasn't was definitely given a lot of shit from the black community. So that's a good question. I don't know, but I don't think she's necessarily flying under the radar. I think she's on a lot of people's radar as being called out about it.
Well, you gotta remember, Omarosa wasn't really liked prior to the Trump situation anyway. So she was being called out before. I mean, she kind of established herself as that antagonistic, woman. And I guess she liked that sort of thing. So you add the Trump situation to it, that didn't make it any better. But what I'm saying that Candace Owens was saying, Omarosa has never said the things Candace Owens is saying.
Right.
And yet she was, like you said, she was ridiculed. She was booed out of the National Black Journalist Convention they had. But yet Candace Owens isn't experiencing any of that. And one thing that I don't like.
Okay, so here we go. Well, Candace Owens isn't going to the National Black Convention, or, she's not, I guess. One thing about Omarosa, she straddled between working with Trump and, still going to a lot of these black, I would say, engaging a lot of black institutions, Omarosa. Candace Owens isn't doing that. She's just, she's sponsored by this conservative think tank. I can't think of the name of it.
Turning Point USA.
Right, exactly. So she's sponsored by them. She's supposed to be, black engagement officer, lead, or whatever you want to call it. But she's not necessarily engaging black institutions the way Omarosa was doing that. So that's probably why she's not being called out. Because, if Candace Owens shows up to the National Black, what you just said, she'll be called out. But Candace Owens is not going to. In fact, she knows better. Candace Owens is not going to that. She's not going to show up to that. But Omarosa will. So that plays probably a lot why she's not really on the black radar, because she's just staying over with White Zaddy and not fully engaging the black community.
That's funny. But the thing is, I just think she's dangerous, because I've actually sat there and listened to what she said on Fox News a few times. And let me listen to what this girl actually saying. And like I said, she is really dangerous. Like, she's telling black people, you've never been through anything. You never. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm just sitting here just listening to her, and I'm saying, how is she getting away with saying all this? I say, where's the sound bites on Candace Owens from all these different publications? Like, she's just really like going out of line.
Well, again, she's on Fox News, but she won't come. She's not engaging black institutions. That's why. I think that's primarily why, because Omarosa didn't have any issues with going to black institutions and engaging them. So that's the reason. But again, she's a free thinking black Republican, sponsored by white conservative think tanks, okay, who put batteries in their black puppets, wind them up, and they spit the same robot, basically talking points that you'll hear on like Sean Hannity or, on Fox News. That's all they're doing. Nothing free thinking at all.
Yeah. And you notice in white society, they always reward the sellout. And I was talking about this one time. I said, listen, you have to, as black people, if you want to get that same opposite on your team, you have to reward those too. What I mean by that is you have some white folks that's willing to drop their privilege and fight for you, Why is it that black people don't take that same strategy and say let's put a battery in their back and support them, and then let them go out there and say we can't say? Why don't we do that?
I mean, who has the money and resources, the money, power, and resources in the black community that would do that? That's not being controlled by White Zaddy already.
See, when you say that, I watch
I mean,
black people spending habits. Black people got money. Oh yes, we do.
we do. We do. And prior and you know, I know and well, that's a different subject. I'm not going to talk about that. But yeah, they do have the money, but we don't want to invest it in what needs to be invested in. That's the issue. We got the money. We have plenty of money. But again, we just don't want to put the money behind what really counts. That's the issue.
Yeah, I'm glad you say that. We don't want to,
Yeah.
and then we wonder why we always getting creamed politically on everything. We get nothing. Nobody tries to help black people on anything. Notice they trying to help everybody else but black folk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So instead of putting money behind a platform like yours, who's obviously passionate about black people and wants to serve the best interests about black people, they rather give the money to Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
The Foot Locker. So I mean, that's just what it is.
Or which is sad, they rather continue to give their money to nail shops that's choking the hell out of them,
Right.
kicking their butts, and they still go back.
Right. Dragging them around the mall, the strip mall. Yeah. Bro, that's just where we're at, man.
Yeah. Dynast.
I mean, but the thing is, we just have to continue to do what we're doing because I really think, Phil, I honestly think because I would say, so-called legacy black media is dead.
Yes, and thank God.
It's dead. And I think with Trump being in office, a lot of black people are starting to wake up. I mean, your platform's growing, mine is starting to grow. So it's going to be a change here in the next, and then you don't have to go through the middleman anymore. You have straight direct to consumer platforms like YouTube or Facebook. So it's going to change, Phil, the next 3 or 4 years. It's really going to pick up here shortly because black people are starting to wake up and see how our black politicians, both Democratic and Republican, have completely sold out. How our black entertainers have completely sold out. Black people are starting to slowly wake up. So as long as we stay consistent and keep pushing, I'm telling you, the next 3 to 4 years, it's gonna change.
Yeah, because like I said, ever since my eyes have been just open on the white liberal and what they pushed in the Democratic Party and
Right.
how just disrespectful they have been. They are so disrespectful to black people. And I say, man, I have to say something. And I started, like I said, I kept watching Malcolm, and what he kept saying about them, they're literally following the playbook that Malcolm said they follow, and how they treat us. Because so-called, look at, like say, prime example, we mentioned in Zach TV1, Chicago.
Right.
You got Democrat ran city, supposedly our friends, and yet they set up there, close 50 schools in Chicago. Right off the back, Rahm Emanuel got in there, supposedly Obama's homeboy. He gets in there, close 50 schools when children need to be educated, and then these kids gonna have to cross over gang areas just so they can go to school. Then you let all these little hoodlums run in the streets, and you know good and well if those same ones are going to white Chicago, starting to shoot up the block, I guarantee you'll see all them MRAPs come out, all them militarized police come out. They'll get all them little, savages. That's what they acting like. I'm not gonna call them what it is. They acting like savages. They get all them little ones off the streets. Okay. Right. So my thing is they allow in a Democratic ran city allow that to happen. They allow it. Don't tell me they can't lock them up on RICO laws, lock them up on suspicion, lock them up on trespass. Like if they just make the block hot, they won't even be outside no more. It won't be none of that.
Well, you got to understand, the intent isn't to, I guess, get them off the street. It's just to contain the violence. It's not to end the violence. It's just to contain it. You know, because like you said, once it spills out into the suburbs, then it's a totally different story.
Man, now do you think? Now let me ask you a question. You know, over here, some people say we get a little conspiracy theory, but I don't look at it as conspiracy theory. You believe they're allowing a lot of the killings for illegal organ harvesting?
Of course, that's not a conspiracy theory. That's been documented. That is going on. I mean, it was going on with the Libya slave trade. They're getting these organs, and then there's a underground illegal trade of organs. Yeah, that's going on.
No, you think about it. Most of these black young men don't have no life insurance policies at all.
Right.
So no life insurance. Most time you don't know what happened to the bodies. They have documented cases where certain bodies were stuffed with newspaper, even though they went to the funeral home. Not that somebody abducted them and took their organs. No, they actually went to the funeral home and they didn't have their organs, and nobody signed for them to give organs away or anything. Like, they just taking it real quick from these young men.
It's not a conspiracy theory. It's happening.
Yeah,
illegal organ snatching is going on live and well. And guess what? They're taking our organs, black people.
Now, this is the thing. Why is it they want black people's organs more than anyone else?
I mean, we're the guinea pigs of the planet. That's why. I mean, look at the Tuskegee experiment. Look at Ebola. Look at AIDS. Look at HIV. I mean, we are the guinea pigs of the planet because we're not respected. I mean, it's simple as that. I mean, that's why.
I just believe maybe Dynast said we just have superior organs, and that's why they want them.
That too, but I mean, you got to think about it. You got to think about it, Phil. A system that hates us so much that thinks we're inferior. Why would they want our body parts? You know, our IQ is allegedly low and all this other stuff. Why would they want our body parts? I mean, you're correct. I can't disagree with you on that. But I think it's just more of, again, we are the guinea pigs of the planet.
Just like I heard a story talking about Libya, that these white women that can't have children in Europe, they're getting the wombs of uterus and all that other stuff from African women implanted into these white women, and they go into India and all these other places to get it done because the UK won't allow it to happen. And they're getting all this put in just so they can have children because, you know, they're in a global decline.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, to this day, they don't see us as human. Phil, there was a study done, I think, what's the name? Johns Hopkins University, how many white doctors did not view black people as human for the most part, and that we had a higher pain tolerance than anybody else because we're not human. That's documented.
Yes, it is. And that's why I suggest to black people to get you a black doctor. And also because of that, they don't give us the pain meds they give white folks. Now, the one reason why white folks are on the opioids is because any little thing they say they have, because they look at them with compassion and, oh, he or she have a problem. That's why they hook to the opioids. But black folks is not hooked to that because they won't give us the prescriptions to get it.
Right.
So, you know, this whole system, and my thing is, you say, well, they don't look at us as human. Well, who are they? Because my thing is, maybe I don't look at you as human either. You know, like I said, it's not normal to go out in the sun and you can't be out there long. I mean, you want to look at me as not being human. You get what I'm saying? I mean, these people, you know, I've gotten to a point in my life where, like, you have to consider the source. Like, who are they to say anything about anybody?
No, and you're absolutely right. But again, we're just the system we're in. They dominate it. So, I mean, they're not gonna use their own as guinea pigs. It's gonna be us. So at the end of the day, I mean, it's just so many documented cases of them using us as guinea pigs. The Tuskegee experiment, them running experiments on black soldiers in World War II in North Korea. In the Korean War, you have a situation with what's the name? A lady wrote a book as far as just the malpractice that goes on in the medical industry versus against black people. I cannot.
Medical apartheid?
There you go, right there. Medical apartheid. I mean, Johns Hopkins University had to settle a lawsuit as far as them, I guess, losing babies, black babies, or give them to the wrong parents, or I forgot what it was. So it's just so much that's going on that continues to go on But then when you say, hey, maybe consider Africa as a contingency plan, the same people that complain about all this will look at you like you're crazy. You
Yeah,
know,
that's crazy, Dynast. You know, and I don't understand that. They rather deal with all this what you're talking about instead of saying maybe let me go try it. Let me go see. Because, you know, like you talking about the babies, right? You know, one thing I do respect about, you know, the brothers in the Nation of Islam, and I didn't know they did this, is that when they have a child, they keep somebody standing there watching that child in that nursery the whole time.
oh
Because
wow.
they don't want that child being given all those vaccines right then and there. They have their little, you know, they things they believe in, and they say, well, would the dad watch? And then what happens is one person leave, the other person will come watch. They do not have somebody not standing there watching that baby. And I'm like, wow, you know, and I said that's pretty good. They actually stand on guard like that because, you know, we don't have no hospitals that we can go
Right.
to that's started by us. Now I know you have a what is it? A Nigerian lady started a one of those 24-hour emergency places right here in Houston.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because Nigerians are heavy down here in Houston. Like not Houston.
Well, well, you know, Houston has the largest Nigerian population outside of Nigeria
Yeah,
in the world. Yeah.
yeah, they do, and they're very successful here, and you know, they still hold dear to their culture, their language, and everything. So, you know, that's why I say shout out to Nigeria. But you know, and another thing too that gets me, and they're talking about Nigeria, and when it comes to us for being responsible in our community and in African culture versus the culture that we live in now, is that we are all black, and even Nigerians come over here, they're black. And you look at, I don't know if you go to high school graduations, and you'll see the top ones who are graduating with all the honors and all the scholarships. I'm not saying we don't, but always is an Asian person or a Nigerian. Now, we all black. It don't matter if they come from Nigeria, and really Nigeria isn't considered like America or extremely first world, right? So why
Right.
is it Nigerians come over here, and maybe you can shine a light on that, why they come over here and succeed in education, and they excel a lot faster than a lot of us that are born here?
Yeah, yeah, but you have to understand there's not, I mean, how many black Americans are here? What, 50 million in America? Am I right?
Correct.
How many Nigerians are here? So you can't really, it's not fair because their group is so much smaller.
Hmm.
I mean, there's probably not even a million Nigerians here in America.
Well, the point I'm getting at, this is the point I'm getting at.
Okay, go ahead.
The point I'm getting at is if you go compare mass numbers, no. We talking about just regular high school. You see a lot of the Nigerian kids that come over, just like a lot of Asian kids. Like every graduation I go to, man, this is what I see. I'm not just making it up. Like I said, this is things that I'm not saying. That's why I said I'm not saying that African American children aren't doing good in school and aren't going to college.
Right.
I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is you see a lot of times at the top is Asian. You see Nigerians. And, you know, I talked to one Nigerian brother, and he had told me about the way they raise their family, that education is extremely important. And it seemed like in our community, not all, but in part of our community, you know, we focus more on materialism. We focus more on, you know, or street cred if you went to jail. Or, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, where's the disconnect? Like, how can we get more connected back to African culture? Because we wasn't always like this. Like, say, like my grandmother's time, no, we wasn't like this.
Yeah, it's just again, I mean, you had a lot go on. I mean, you had the war on drugs. I
Hmm.
mean, you had of course, prison pipeline. I mean, school to prison pipeline. You've had a lot that Black America, a lot that we went through. So that's what you're dealing with. So, you know, it's just our you have to understand, Phil, our experience here in America has been very unique compared to anybody else, any other black person on this planet, as far as what we went through. So that's why it's hard to make that comparison. Now, I'm not giving us excuses. You know, definitely the killer Samboism has affected us a lot as well, and has played a role in that. You know, our leaders selling out. But at the same time, it's just our experience is so unique here in America. It's tough to compare it to Nigerians who, for the most part, they send their best over here. Because I'm telling you, we send our best Black Americans to Nigeria, I guarantee you Nigeria will be a completely different country. Like if you sent our best Black Americans to Nigeria, that country would be it would be night and day. I mean, from just what we've learned as far as our experience here in America, the skills that we have, we would completely change Nigeria from what it is right now if we were to send our best over there. So it's hard to make that comparison.
Yeah, it just questions I maybe had because there's one brother, like I said, just told me how the focus on education is a little different. Like I said, I focus on education for sure. I know a lot of brothers and sisters definitely in this country focus on education, but unfortunately, it's like those who focus on education, those who want to start businesses, those who want to progress the community, right? It's a lot of us want to do that. But unfortunately, we are the majority, and sometimes that gets me frustrated, Dynast. I am not going to lie, because I do so many news stories. I see how our kids are treated in schools.
Right.
Constantly our kids are treated horribly, racially. They are just trying to suspend them and put them in prison. And I'm like, where is our people, man? Like so we can get together and fix these issues.
Dude, Phil, I mean, they're tap dancing. they don't are the people who are supposed to represent us and fix these issues. They're more focused on non-black illegal aliens, feminism, LGBTQ issues. I mean, that's what they're focused on, Phil. I mean, they've sold out. I mean, that's just what it is. They're focused on being free thinkers for the Republican Party. And so obviously, when you're a free thinker for the Republican Party, you can't call out white racism because you're not going to get your butter biscuit. If he was, obviously they want to stay on the Republican plantation, so they're not going to call out white racism. It's just that's what it is. That's what's going on, Phil.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, but that's just the country we live in. If anybody have any questions for Dynast, like I said, definitely, or you see anything you want to respond to, Dynast, in that comment section, maybe we were talking, because some people were saying things to you. I just didn't want to interrupt you was talking.
I mean, one thing I want to address is I'm not African. I'm in the indigenous Navajo, Cherokee, Hebrew, Israelite mode from Turtle Island. Okay, people. I mean, it's just the self-hate is just so real. Okay, no one has been able to produce, again, no one has been able to produce any type of scholarship proving that they are indigenous to this country. I'm not saying there weren't any dark-skinned, woolly-haired people here, but it's just too many holes in your argument, especially when all you do is post pictures of you next to an Olmec statue. And now you're saying that, because you took this picture next to an Olmec statue, that you are now a native indigenous Olmecan from Turtle Island. Like, and it's just the argument is just so silly and stupid and dumb. When I've been to 5 slave dungeons, okay? It's documented in regards to the ships that brought us over here. Again, I'm not saying that there weren't any dark-skinned indigenous people here, but none of you Negroes speak the language. I still have not met one of these so-called indigenous Navajo Native Americans from Turtle Island that speaks their indigenous language. Again, there's nothing wrong with being African. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong from being black. So again, we have to stop with the dusty pseudo scholarship. Okay? Everything has been documented, well documented. Okay? If you want to see the documentation in regards to the slave trip, the slave ships, if you want to, I've been to several slave dungeons, and the people who work the slave dungeons are very they bring receipts in regards to what happened during the slave trade, how we were captured, who took us, what boats, from what tribes. Okay, it's everything is documented, but your claims aren't documented, and it's just getting to the point now where because we have platforms like this, you have people who are constructive like me and Phil, and then also it gives people a platform to again spread this pseudo uh, native Indian dusty scholarship.
Yeah, you know what? A big problem with black people, Dynast, is this: they want to claim everything else but Africa.
Everything.
Everything.
Hebrew, now I'm hearing the slave trade happening in reverse. Hebrew, Israelite, Navajo, pseudo Moors. It's just like, come on. And then they're under, and then when you listen to them and you unpackage it, they think by doing this that Donald Trump one day is going to say, "Hey, you know what? Because your last name is Ellen Bay, and that you claim to be a so-called Aboriginal, we're going to give you America back." That's their end game. They really think Donald Trump is going to give them America back. That's their end game, and that's why it's like you're sick.
Donald Trump not gonna give them nothing. Donald Trump gonna take this down to the toilet. I'm telling you, he's doing it, and let Trump do his work. He's doing great work. Let him do it. Cause shoot, if we can't be treated right, why everybody else get? No, forget that. Keep doing your thing, Trump. I support you, and I don't support you because I like your politics. But yeah, I see that a lot in my comment section. Well, Phil, we the Aboriginal people. Phil,
Yeah.
we Israelites. We this like, man, everybody, you not African. Phil, like, oh my God, really? I said, I even took a DNA test. They say I made 3%. Like I said, look how dark I am. Look at these West African features. Like, what are you talking about? I'm not African. What am I?
I could take every one of you pseudo natives to West Africa, and you will have someone that looks exactly like you. All right, when you get off that plane, they're not gonna know where you're from until you open your mouth. It's amazing, Phil, the stuff that gets put out on the internet. But hey, there's good and bad.
Yeah, like I said, man, I don't get too mad at them though, because when you're trying to find the worst and cruel thing they did to us during the slave trade is took away who we were, and that's why you have people saying I'm this, I'm that, I'm that, I'm that. Then you have a system of racism, white supremacy that say everything black is ugly until we want to use lip fillers and we want breast implants, we want hip implants, we want butt implants, we want everything to copy black people's look, but it naturally on you is ugly, it's nasty, and so we still dealing with that, unfortunately.
All right, so Mimi Dawn says, ask an African what you are. So when an African asks, every time I go to Africa, this is the conversation I have. I'm gonna break it down. Brother, where are you from? I'm a Black American from the descendant. I'm a descendant of the slave trade. Welcome home, brother. That's the conversation. Or they'll ask, do you know which tribe you're from? Do you know which country you're from? No, I'm a Black American. I'm a victim of the slave trade. My descendants were slaves. Welcome home, brother. That's I promise you, that's the conversation I have.
Now, you mentioned Africa, and you said that you had maybe just a few incidents, a few issues here and there. What were they?
Someone overcharged me for some food, but literally, when I say overcharge, it was their tip money. Because in Africa, you don't tip. You really don't tip. That's more of a Western thing. So somebody overcharged me for some food by like $3 or $4, which was their tip money. But I mean that's about it. I mean, I haven't had any real issues.
And the police don't be messing with you out there, like, man.
No police messing. In fact, I'm gonna tell you a funny story. I was driving. I was in Namibia, and I was driving from a city called Ndagwa to a place called Apuwo. I got pulled over at they had a I got pulled over, not pulled over, but they had a checkpoint. They had a checkpoint. I showed them my ID. Welcome home, welcome to Namibia, brother, and I kept it pushing.
And that's what you guys need to experience. You need to experience welcome home, brother, or welcome home, sister. Because, I think I had who was it? Jessica Lorraine on here. I don't know if you know her. and she's from Senegal. And every time I get someone that come on the show, Dynast, that's from over there, especially the women, they always say, "Hey, you're welcome to come. Let me know when you come. You know, we love for you guys to come." I think another sister I did an interview from the Gambia, same thing. I mean, they welcome it.
Yeah, people are missing out, man. I mean, black people are missing out. You complain about everything that's going on here in America, but then you choose to go travel to Europe or China. And this is the level of self-hate that we're dealing with, Phil. You have, and I'm not beating up on black women, but I just got to keep it real. You have educated black women, okay, who will fly to these Asian countries and allow random Asian people touch their hair, start playing with their hair like they're a damn science experiment or freak show, and these women will make up every excuse on why that's okay.
Man,
every excuse on why that's okay.
I interviewed who was it? Dr. Andrea and Tarek. Oh my, what's their last name? From the YouTube channel Life's Humble Hunt. Have you watched the YouTube channel?
I'm familiar with them. The couple, right?
Yeah, the couple. Yeah,
yeah, I'm familiar with them.
And they were saying that, of course, they've been all over the place in the continent. They live in, I think, Liberia, but they said that they went to China. They experienced the same thing. I said, see, I can't. You can't touch me like that. You can't. I have a thing about my space, and if you come in my space, it's gonna be a problem unless I'm inviting you into my space.
And then they'll make up all types of excuses for it. Oh, well, maybe Asians, maybe Chinese. They haven't been in contact with black people. Meanwhile, Asians are doing shows, Chinese doing shows with them in blackface.
Right.
And he heard about the brother that got arrested, the football player, that's been locked up after he was attacked at a bar, and he's still in jail.
Oh, in China.
Right, in China. Then you hear about the the Africans who are discriminated against China and face racism.
Oh yeah,
I just don't. Yeah.
Man, look, my thing is, like I said, only countries I desire to travel to outside of African nations, definitely the place that we're at. Like, I want to go to Australia to get in contact with the Aborigine people. I believe that they are being heavily discriminated against. They're being oppressed, and their story need to get out. So that's definitely that's going to be one of my stops, right? I just saw a story about Brazil and how black people are treated worse in Brazil probably here.
It was crazy, Phil. A lot of conscious black people leave America, complain about racism, but then go to Brazil. And all of a sudden, it's like in their bubble, racism doesn't exist, or they're not speaking out against it, which I find weird.
It's bad over there. If you dark skinned, like the black people have so much self-hate because of the environment that they literally want to breed out their blackness. They want to because they look at their dark skin, a lot of them, as just nothing to be proud of. Like, you don't meet too many. They were talking about you don't meet too many people. It's just like, man, I love being dark. I love that love for being black. And they were talking about how they, like you was talking about earlier, they have the mulattoes, and then they have the blacks, and then you say they have the whites, whatever they consider the whites are over there. And they always want to promote just the mulattoes because they had this story, this dark skinned girl had won some sort of contest to promote something about Carnival or whatever. And she only got to be on the spot 3 weeks. And then they took her off because everybody was saying she was a monkey and she's too dark and whatever. And you see her skin tone. I mean, she had that glowing dark skin. Like that, you know what I'm talking about? That glowing looking dark skin that some women have. Yeah. And she had that. Nothing was wrong with her skin tone, but they just took her off of her contract and replaced her with, like you say, a mulatto with curly hair.
Yeah, that's just. Yeah, I mean I don't know, Phil. That's just how it is, man. In Brazil, and a lot of these, and it's not just Brazil. There's a lot of these Central American and Latino countries where Black Latinos are discriminated against.
Right, and so it's stories all over the world that we need. We live in this bubble here in America, but there's other brothers and sisters out here that that need their stories told. And that's part of why I feel my mission is, I know you're doing it by inviting people to your platform, and And guys, make sure you go to his channel, search for Uhuru, subscribe. I need all of you guys to go and subscribe to his channel that's watching. It's about 500 of you guys watching. Make sure you click the like button if you're there. You know, I would like all you guys to subscribe to this brother, you know, show him some love. You know, we definitely want to build with the brothers and have them on to express themselves. And, you know, like I tell people, we have a community platform over here. You know, the brothers are welcome, the sisters are welcome. Anybody that want to come by and share knowledge with the family. You know, Dynast, you want to leave any last words with the brothers and sisters, or any points you need to make?
No, I mean, Phil, thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it, man. It means a lot. Let's continue to have these conversations. Let's continue to put out good content that benefits our people, because I mean, our people are starting to slowly wake up. So I mean, we just got to continue to feed them and put out the content. And thank you for opening up your platform for people like myself. I really appreciate it. And guys, make sure you go to search for Uhuru on YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Pretty much all social media platforms. Search for Uhuru. Also on Patreon, search for Uhuru. Search for Uhuru on those platforms. So again, Phil, thank you for having me, man. And anytime, brother, just let me know.
All right, that's no problem. I know you had a Patreon. I'm gonna have to go join your Patreon over there, because like I tell people, I just don't ask people to support my Patreon. I believe in supporting other people's as well. So I'm going on to join your Patreon when we get off of here.
Yeah, and I mean, and thank you. I mean, you're one of the most selfless YouTubers, because a lot of people don't don't like to share their platforms, and I think it's important for us to share our platform so people could be heard, and people who are reasonable and make sense, obviously. But again, a lot of people don't share your platform, especially a large platform like yours, to everybody. But I appreciate you doing that.
Well, we used to teach our kids a long time ago, sharing is caring. So
right.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, guys, make sure, once again, go subscribe to his channel. Please subscribe, follow him, like him, get involved. He does a lot of streams, so he definitely keeps giving you good content, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you for watching.